This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Brought to you, presented by THG Agency. We do what we do every Tuesday from 6 to 7 right here. Checking us out with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We have a dynamic show for you as we have great interviews locked up for you. Certainly a lot to talk about, so we'll see how it goes today with everybody pretty much talking about two things. One got some people excited, might have one group a little sad and mad, but the other issue is a serious issue that we're looking at, and we'll certainly address that as well. But with that, welcome and thanks for joining us inside the studio lecture hall, the HBCU Sports Lab, for the only weekly sports talk radio show that is dedicated to exploring the HBCU sporting, HBCU diaspora, including the marching sports, which is its unique HBCU culture identity, the teams, the band, coaches, athletic directors, commissioners, provosts, presidents, and big rivalry matchup, classic games, homecoming events, and much, much more of the HBCU athletic aesthetic. As we emerge our lecture with sports business practices in the competitive sports industry, the show seeks to provide innovative, progressive, informative dialogue about the week's HBCU sporting events, issues, and ideas from a fan's perspective. We review the Southwestern Athletic Conference, better known as the SWAC, the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, better known as the MEAC of the NCAA Division I, Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, SIAC, the Central Intercollegiate Athletic Association, the CIAA of the NCAA Division II, Gulf Coast Athletic Conference, GCAC of NAIA, and the independent programs such as Tennessee State of the OVC, Hampton of the Big South, Langston of the Sooner Athletic Conference, as well as Texas College as an affiliate member of the Sooner Athletic Conference, as well as Edward Waters as they transition from the NAIA to NCAA Division II and membership in the SIAC, or maybe not. According to their last interview, where they will be given a report. Then they're going to go to the NCAA Division II, or if staying at the NAIA Gold Coast Athletic Conference is the best measure. Interesting, Gold Coast doesn't offer football, so it's intriguing to me that you do all those football moves, facilities, if you would, in regards to what's going on there. But you're joining a conference that doesn't play football in terms of that sport. So it'll be interesting to see what's going down there in Jacksonville, Florida, with Edward Waters College, just to get one thing off the top of the news. With that said, Charles, before I go into my dialogue, my thoughts on a lot of things going on, I'll give you a shot to talk about some news of the day. Or should I just go ahead and start it off talking about Mr. George Floyd, rest in peace. Obviously, that's been on a lot of people's mind. And to be frank with all the viewers out there, I'll do this. And honestly, I was emotionally and sociologically tired. However, it came to me on Monday that I really allowed my privilege to silence needed dialogue on this subject. However, admittedly, it also allowed me time to engage in research and personal perspective of all the things I was hearing out there and all the ways that I bring them in. People know, obviously, that I have a 5-year-old son that will be turning 6 in July. So for me, this impacts me in many ways as it impacts other people out there, particularly African American blacks with young children, and in fact, really children of all ages, as we see. I will also openly state my privilege this afternoon as a so-called educated African American black man, male, fraternity member in a black organization, an academic, tenured full professor at an HBCU, Texas Southern University. With the ability to work safely from confines of my home as I wait to provide online lectures in the summer and in the fall. Thus, with that said, it has become clearer to me than ever the silence of Americans' populace with privilege is killing those without such privilege. Specifically, a significant percentage of this populace without privilege are African American blacks, and the silence of those privileges literally deadly. So moving forward, I've made a recommit, if you would, from being silent or being silenced. And so that's kind of my framing of how I will exercise my power into making a change in this country. So with that said, obviously you're willing to chime in if you want, or you can move to some news of the day as we start preparing to get some of our interviews in today that I think will be very dynamic.
Sure.
Any thoughts, Charles, that you want to share, Mike?
Yeah, definitely. It's a day of reflection for a very serious ill within our country. And before we go further, you would hope that it spurs action in a positive direction for a very needed talk for the country. Yeah.
No doubt about it. I think there's important comments from you, Charles, and thank you for sharing it. Mike, did you have anything that you wanted to share?
Yeah, Dr. Cavil. I guess for me, the thing that stands out over this past 3 or 4 days are images. And I've received an enormous feedback of friends that not only are African American, but are people of different ethnicity, of different races, of different creeds, and their outrage was almost to the level of equivalency that mine was. So I won't forget that. But like you, I've had that talk with my sons, and we've gone even historical. And in corporate America, typically they tell you that there are certain things that are off limits. But even in corporate America, such atrocities as this has spurred additional comment. And like you, I just can't sit back and watch. And I can't just sit back and comment. I have to be a little bit more active. So it hit me from a familiar standpoint, from a friendship standpoint, and looking at those involved, and from a historic standpoint. And like my colleague CB said, I hope that some fruitful actions come from it. You hear the reports that there are those who are not involved with it, are part of the rioting and looting. Woe be the day that someone uses this to further their agenda and not for the right purpose. I don't support any of those efforts, but having said this, like you, I can't be silenced. The disdain, the anger in such an event is just, it boils you over, and your emotions just boil over. So thank you for allowing me to get that out. I'm sorry if I went over the limit.
Certainly. As we do that, Mike, check your mic on the Blue Jean app. Make sure that your mic is unmuted. Sounding good in the Zoom. With that, Charles, wanted to ask you, what are some other news of the day that you saw out there in terms of HBCU news this week?
Sure. Well, before we get to, of course, the news of the day, I do want to mention, and this comes to us courtesy of Southern Athletics, that LSU has added Southern and Grambling to its future football schedule, marking the first time that LSU will face 2 historic in-state opponents. And that was coming from LSU's athletic director, Scott Woodward. LSU will host Southern September 10th, 2022 in Tiger Stadium. And the Tigers will face Grambling September 9th, 2023 in Tiger Stadium as well. So that's a little bit of the news before we get to the main news of today.
To the big stuff.
To the big stuff.
Mike, what you got? You got any of the big stuff?
Well, before we get to the big stuff, one kind of smaller note. I'm kind of going to follow the path of my good friend CB there. As of May 30th, the SWAC is to begin allowing flexibility with the return of voluntary workouts. This is in conjunction with that the SWAC will follow recently adapted temporary NCAA legislation, which allows student athletes to return to campus for voluntary workouts starting June 1st. Now, the conference office and all of its members agreed that, it will work with local legislators, local governments to ensure that a safety plan is in place. So that was yesterday. So each institution may take a different approach, but it'll be interesting to see what are the consistencies, what are some of the protocols that they have in place, and what agreements do they have in place as we try to get some sort of sense of normalcy back into at least working out. So
Yeah, great point. And so, Charles, I guess it falls on you too.
Nobody wants to bring out
Talk about what's out there. No, I mean, that's all right. Y'all kicking the ball and punting the ball. Obviously, everybody in the HBCU world has been talking about the fact that HBCU game day really did the breaking news in a lot of ways. You've heard a lot of the people kind of intimate it on the various social media platforms, from HBCUsports.com to Facebook, various Facebook HBCU platforms, BCS and Black Sports Network has talked about it. We were on the show actually talking about conference realignment as if it came out of nowhere. But what was put out there by HBCU Game Day as well as FCS Sports, where they even put more detail, is that on the agenda literally tomorrow at Florida A&M University, better known as FAMU to many people, are the VP of Athletics, Courtney Gaucher, is making a presentation to the board to seek approval for the athletics program to tell the MEAC leadership that it is leaving the conference. And obviously, when you leave a conference, you must plan to seek appointment in another conference for most cases. In this case, they are looking at joining none other than the Southwestern Athletic Conference, better known as most of them by the SWAC. And they are seeking to do this to leave the MEAC in June, which means that they would have a year to play in the MEAC, and then they would seek to start participating in the SWAC as a full conference member in 2021. Not this season, but next season, similar to when North Carolina A&T will actually start its full membership in the Big South. So if this takes place, we'll find out tomorrow, and look for us to come back and provide more commentary once we see whether the board gives approval or not. In most cases, you would think if this takes place that the back channels would suggest that the president, VP of Athletics, has made overtures of this, and if downright, if not, made sure that the board members, for the most part, are aware of this and believe they probably have the vote. And so that's something that you would want to consider that doesn't come out there. But my experience at this board level, doing research, consulting work, participating to some degree at Texas Southern, the board level, usually something of this magnitude, the board is pretty much aware. This is just going through the formal process and clearing up maybe if there's a question here and there, and doing the formal process of what takes place. But you would think that they pretty much would have that. What's interesting in this case is, from everything I've heard of, that while you would think MEAC would probably try to find some backdoor channels to talk to SWAC, but from a formal process, it's my understanding that the SWAC under Commissioner Dr. Charles McCullen has not had any formal talks with any of the administrators at Florida A&M. But when you're a brand like Florida A&M, I believe that you can afford to do this, understanding that if you don't have a formal okay, that your president and other presidents can kind of talk and say, hey, I would think it's a good idea, and it would hard pressed for me to think that we wouldn't have a formal vote of acceptance for most of the presidents. So that's just giving you a little insight in terms of what's going on there. We were looking to see what's going on in terms of an interview coming up, but as we try to wait to see if we can get that to take place.
He's up now.
Is he ready to go?
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and bring in our first guest for our interview today, which is none other than the VP of Athletics, Vice President and Director of Athletics, as they said at D. Jackson State University. Ashley Robinson. So let me make sure that I do him justice and get it correctly. because he's been in many places as he's trained and groomed himself. And so he's had so many titles that I tend to forget, whether it's director of athletics, athletic director, associate commissioner, assistant commissioner, compliance, VP of athletics, Prairie View. He is a Valley State.
He is a
president.
He is a plethora of
director of athletics, man. He got so many roles, man. We gonna start nicknaming you Mr. Jamaican and the way you going over there. But a good friend of mine, I had a good time of working with him at Prairie View over many years. So while I was sad to see him leave Prairie View, I was happy for his family getting to go home. As having a colleague like Charles that I've learned and gained a lot of respect from Jackson State University, I was happy in many ways that he had this opportunity to go in that direction, because I knew at the end of the day he would do a great job. Now, you can send a check in the mail, Ashley, with those comments.
Man,
because I won't say anything else nice about you. Now, but with that said, tremendous job in regards to APR, academic progress rate. We've seen tough things happen for many of the HBCUs, and obviously, unfortunately, because people are so passionate and don't want to see this, that the ugly side of the APR has probably got too much of the news, to be honest. But what Jackson State was able to do needs to be talked about, so we decided to reach out to you and ask you about the APR. Before I give you the mic, I would like to pass it over to Charles, the formally bring you in as the Tigers of Jackson State University with a purpose to do it. I'm gonna let the man himself do it.
No doubt about it. We'd like to definitely welcome to Dr. Cavil's inside the HBCU Sports Lab, Vice President of Intercollegiate Athletics at the Jackson State University, Mr. Ashley Robinson.
Oh Lord! Turn the mic off.
I know that brings chills to your back, Dr.
Man,
Yes.
turn the mic off.
Yeah, we do have a mute button over here.
Thank you for the introduction, and thank you all, Dr. Cavil and Mike. I really enjoy your show, and thanks for what you do for HBCUs. I think this is a very big deal, big platform. So I want to start off by saying I appreciate what you do for what you do for us. I want to say thanks for having me, and yes, I'm happy and enjoyed to be a part of the Jackson State University. That's my we're very proud, very passionate, and got some of the best fans and the best alumni in the country, and I really do mean that. And also have some of the best athletes and coaches and administrators are here at Jackson State. As you know, we did a really good job, and I kudos to my student athletes, to my academic staff, to the university, to all the assistants, faculty, and staff. As you know, APR is a university thing. A lot of people think APR is just in athletics, but it has something to do with the whole university. And the university support that we have to assist our student athletes on and off the field is very, very big. So I want to say thank you to the faculty and staff. I want to say thank you to my staff, my athletic staff, my associate AD Hakeem McCullen, and his staff has done a really good job. And a special thanks to my student athletes. I mean, they brought into the vision and came here to play sports. And I tell my student athletes, let's leave here with a championship and let's leave with a degree. And some I want to leave with a championship and to be able to do that. So we've done some really exciting things in academics and athletics. Our graduation rates are 84%. Our overall APR score of a 977, which is the best in HBCUs, and football score 973, which is the best in the top 5 percentile of the FCS. So, I still think we have a lot of work to do because until you get perfect, you still have work to do, and you have to continue to grow and put things in place. So we're not stopping here. We'll continue to grow our department. We'll continue to put some extra measures and things in place. As you know, when we have success, you have to continue to grow and continue to put things in place to continue that success. So we still think we have a lot of work to do on the field and off the field, and I'm very excited about it. As I talk to people and people talk about the sleeping giant, I just want to put everybody on notice, Dr. Cavil, that the sleeping giant is about to wake back up.
Y'all heard it here? Mike, do you want to come in and ask the question? All this love going around here, man. Somebody need to tighten them up a little bit. I know you'll shake up the world, man.
Yes, first of all, I will start off positive, and I will say definitely congratulations. This is Mike Washington inside the Dr. Cavill's inside the HBCU Sports Lab with my friend Charles Bishop, and of course the one and only Dr. Cavil. And this is Mike Washington from the Prairie View A&M University, aka the Hill. So no, in all seriousness, we joke around, Ashley, and kudos to you because I believe this is like 10 years. I guess my question is, there are those who are not proponents of the APR and say, that it is a exercise in building academic eligibility mechanism versus true academic performance. I think your point is very, very valid. It is a relationship. So my question is, what has Jackson State done to cultivate such a successful relationship between coaching and athletic staff, players, and the faculty, all of the folks that are involved to build this culture of success and have it be sustainable over time that, quite frankly, a lot of HBCUs have struggled with at times? What are the key ingredients of some of the formula, if you will?
The main key, Mike, is student first. Everything we do, and I tell people, every decision that I make, all my staff, my faculty that I talk, everything, the decision that we do, you have to make it about the student, because that's what it's all about. And you have to, you have to learn that culture. You have to learn the student. You have to, have some in-depth conversations with the students. You have to have a lot of one-on-ones. You have to have some really, really, really good faculty and staff, really good academic advisors, really good directors in your academic area, because that's a whole nother job in itself. A lot of people look at athletes and say, oh, they're privileged. Athletes have a lot on their plate. They have a lot of things to do. You look at the time management, from in the morning to the evening. You look at an athlete's schedule and you're like, wow. And you notice, if they don't, go on to play professional, once they graduate, they get jobs very easily because of the time management skills that they have. So we try to make sure we build that athlete and student first mentality. And I think that's what it's all about. We embrace our students, we embrace our parents when we talk about recruiting. We embrace the vision across campus that our faculty and staff would like for us to do to support our student athletes. And that's some of the big things, I think that's very, very important too. You look at your student athletes and you look at your provost. Your provost is a big, that's really very big on building your academic platform for your university. We want our student athletes to be students. We want them to be academically sound, just like the president scholars. And as you see this year, our SGA president, he did a really good job, and it shows some of the things that we're doing when it comes to on the academic side of the house. So building those relationships is a key. Talking to those students, finding out what's students have a lot of tough things going on in their personal life. They have a lot of tough things going on a day-to-day basis, and sometimes it just takes some time and spend some time with them to talk to them. But once they know that you care, and that's one of the biggest pieces is showing people, students, that you care. Me and Charles talk about this all the time. Even with your alumni, with anything that you're doing, if you show people you care, they might not agree with everything that you're doing, but they'll buy into your vision, and at the end, you all have the same goal. And that's our goal. Our goal is to support our student athletes, be the first campus, and with the leadership and the president of President Hudson, he has the same. He builds that same. Our faculty and staff believes in what we're doing, and we have a rich tradition. So we're going to continue to build on that tradition. But we also got to be a student first campus in order to get the numbers and to get the graduation rates and the success you need from an academic side of the house.
Thank you.
Certainly, with that, Charles, as we're getting on top of it, let me let you have the last question there in regards to VP and Director of Athletics at Jackson State University.
Sure.
Ashley Robinson.
Well, I'm going to follow up on Mike's question a little bit in terms of talking about if you could expound a little bit more on the infrastructure in place at Jackson State in terms of from the coaches to the academic staff, to the professors themselves that have kind of created this environment where your APR has been able to sustain itself over the past few years.
Well, we have an infrastructure. We have Associated Dean for Compliance and Academics. that looks over the compliance and academic areas. And then we have a director of compliance, we have a director of academics, we have 3 advisors, we have 3 or 4 GAs, we have learning specialists on site, we have tutors, and we also have support from our faculty and staff with our student athletes. And what we do, we come together as a team. And I always say, you know, in order for this to work, it can't be athletics, it can't be the faculty and staff, everybody together. And that's one of the things that I worked on getting is building those relationships to make sure we're all on the same page and to make sure we're at the end of the day, we want the same goal for those students. But we have to make sure in order to get there, we have to put those measures in place. And I think it starts with the structure and the organization with those, you know, students, you know, that day to day with that academic advisor, with that student, you know, meeting with them, setting those class schedules, making sure they're taking classes in their majors, you know, meeting with their chairs and their deans across campus. I mean, in their areas, you know, those are big keys that I think that's very important. You know, having that one-on-one with those students, you have to touch each one of those students. We have 311 athletes, Charles, and we just did analysis today. We have 166 athletes that have a 3.0 or higher, which is about 3%. And I think, and I think we can do better. I think we can really, really do better. But that shows the work. I mean, our academic staff and our compliance staff, they really do a really good job. And this is not an 8 to 5 job. You know, this is 7 days a week. You know, sometime after hours. You know, sometimes early in the mornings. You know, having those labs available, and sometimes just being available. You know, a lot of it deals with class attendance. Our coaches, you know, they're tasked to do class attendance. And they do a really good job of because they spend the majority of their time with their coaches. You know, I always, you know, it's funny, you know, switching from academic to athletics. You know, I always talk to that strength and conditioning coach and the academic advisor when we got a big game of the week. An academic advisor give me an answer, and I ask strength and conditioning, how is so-and-so doing? And when I ask those questions about those student athletes or that particular team, and I see the tone of what my strength and conditioning, what my academic advisor is going to tell me, it kind of tells me what kind of week we're going to have. And that is something that, you know, because those individuals, from your academic advisor, your strength and conditioning coach, and your coaches, they're with those students, I mean, you know, 50 to 60% of the time. So you have to make sure that they also learn to build relationships with their students and meet with your students. And that's a big part of the infrastructure. It's just building those relationships and showing them, again, going back to what when we talked about with you, Mike, showing them that you care and being a student first, you know, department and university.
Sure thing.
Well, with that, I know you probably timed this perfectly so you can focus on Jackson State with all this other news out here. So we won't hold you up. But I did want people to realize, are you still like the chair of the athletic directors, VP? You know, y'all got all these titles, man, so it's hard to keep up. So I just director of athletics. You're the chair of that committee for the Southwestern Athletic Conference, better known as the SWAC.
Yes, I am the chair of that great committee, but for all
so it sounds like y'all might have some work to do.
You know, one thing to say about, and I'm glad you brought the conference office up. You know, I want to give my hats out to our commissioner. You know, Commissioner McCullen has really done a really good job of changing the landscape of the conference. And I'm not just talking from an athletic director. I'm talking from a player. I'm talking from a student. I've been around this campus a long time. Some of the things that we're doing now, I mean, and it shows. You see it. You know, he's really building this conference. He's really excited about it. And some of the things that he's doing, he's supporting all 10 institutions. And that's something that I'm very proud about. And I want to say, you know, thank you, Commissioner McCullen. I know this is something that we all have been asking for. And he's doing a really good job of leading us and guiding us and building this conference.
Wow.
Well, I think that says a lot and becomes evident when folks start looking at the SWAC in terms of a possible destination. I know first things first needs to take place, but if you would allow me, since you are the chair of that committee, what I would like to ask of you, if it does come to that place where it does sit on your table, if you would come to us and talk to us about that framework and how that works, and along with any other AD or obviously commissioner that you want to bring to the table at the appropriate time, if you would do us the honor to come back to us and talk about that framework. Obviously, again, you'll be able to talk about it from a perspective of Jackson State, but also from a collective that I think people want to hear. one thing that I'm a big about is with our fans, whether it is at the institutional level or conference level, is the more that we educate our fans, the better fans they are.
Right.
So I think we've built that rapport and the trust to understand that we know literally where to go and where not to go in regards to that. And obviously you're been in the game long enough where you know to say, I can't answer that right now, whatever. But we would be honored if you would come to us back at the appropriate time and let's talk more about what takes place next if things roll out the way they do tomorrow at Florida A&M.
I'll be honored to do that. I'll be honored to call you, Dr. Cavil, and be the first to go on to talk about that process. And I want to say to all HBCUs, alums, and fans, I said, if you don't support your institution at any other time,
amen.
Do it. This time, every alumni,
amen.
Every student, every coach, everybody that's a supporter of HBCUs, you should purchase a season tickets whether we have a season or not, and you shouldn't be in the line for a refund if you love your institution the way you say you love your institution. As I see my friend coming in with a shotgun Simmons.
Surprise!
There we go.
You know he's gonna do it to you.
Shotgun.
But all seriously though, and I think he would agree, I mean, this is the time that we should all come in and support our institutions. And if HBCUs are strong as we say we are, this is a time to prove it. And we have
absolutely
resources. We have the alumni base to do what we need to do. But it's time now to support our HBCUs. And I tell you now, this is no better time to support our HBCUs. I tell you, I can see a lot of 5 and 4 stars. I just hope they don't go to Florida A&M when they come to Jackson State. But I can see that.
That's what I'm talking. That's how we do it.
I can see it happening, Dr. Gill. I can see a lot of student athletes, a lot of students, changing, and parents starting to see that, hey, I tell you what, if they all come to us, you'll see a big change, when it comes to HBCUs. And yes, we can be a Power 5 within itself, but we have to continue to support and our student athletes and be positive with all our institutions, optimistic about what we're doing from a day-to-day basis to support all our HBCUs.
No doubt.
And thank you with that. Before we bid you to do, and you're welcome to stay on as we listen to Coach Simmons, but I would be remiss if I didn't first introduce Coach Simmons. People around these parts know you, so I won't go in that type of level of introduction, but I do want to be respectful in terms of putting that on paper and then give you a chance to say anything that you need to say. But actually, as he got a chance to kind of rib you, I wouldn't be fair if I wouldn't give you a chance to kind of push back. But this is for those that have been on the moon probably. This is Coach Willie Simmons, head football coach at Florida A&M University, better known as FAMU for all those out there. He's coming on here talking about the responsibilities of his coaching peers, activating their voices to be heard regarding George Floyd's tragic death and others. And as he says in the hashtag, which is appropriate, particularly in this as well, is leave no doubt behind in terms of leave no doubt. Hashtag leave no doubt. I will say it again. With that, Coach Simmons, before I give you the platform to really stick on that, give you a chance to usher out, make a comment to Ashley Robinson.
Well, all I say is, judging by the way that I look, the way that you look, the way that Charles Bishop looks, all of us are following social distancing guidelines, but apparently Ashley Robinson gets to still go to his barber and get a fresh haircut, get a fresh shave. I mean, he's got his baby boy look going on right now, so I guess in Jackson they've lifted all the social distancing guidelines, but
it's one of your perks you get Charles to tell you about being a part of
Hey,
he probably got the barber coming to his house.
Yeah, that's a special deal.
Everything, had the always say, you test, you good, send the paperwork, he clear, come on through.
And
they got all that big space, big house, 2-3 stories. He probably had them up in the loft somewhere, way away from the family, so it ain't no problem. When you got it like that in Jackson, and they treating you that way, there's some things that we just don't quite understand. And we don't get that.
And don't let them fool you. They got their fair share of 3, 4, and 5 stars up there in Jackson State too. So. I lost a couple of them to Jackson State, so I know.
The Giants.
Thank you, VP and Director of Athletics Ashley Robinson, the Jackson State University, as they like to say in those parts. Thank you for your time and all seriousness. You are only a phone call away. Anytime you need to get information out, we certainly will reach out to you. Or anytime you just need to talk about different framing of what's going on out there, you're welcome to give us a call, come on the show, or just call me personally. With that, we thank you for your time.
Thank you, and I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coach, in all seriousness, in terms of what's going on here, as you picked it, you put out a charge up there, and talking about the MEAC in a lot of ways, your colleague up in North Carolina Central, Coach Wooten, in terms of the basketball coach up there, said a similar statement. His got picked up on ESPN, so it probably went longer. But as I follow you on Facebook, I know one of the first voices I heard was yours in regards to your concerns and feelings, and it was so heartfelt. And then I received the text and was really like, I need to give Coach Simmons an opportunity to put this out there on a bigger platform. I certainly resonated with me, but I thought it was appropriate from somebody of your stature that decided that it was, appropriate to talk and move it among you, just talking along with your peers or your players or throughout the university. But not only that, on a platform such as ours, but seeking to really challenge others to understand the need to hear those voices. With that, if you will, share us a little more. Why did you think this is important at this time to make that type of statement?
Well, obviously, with everything that's been going on, not just recently, we speak as if this is something that's just started happening, but it's been going on for 400 years. And now it's just magnified because of technology, and thank God for that, the ability to see the gross racism and police brutality in some senses, and the things that are going on. It's important that we have voices, that we use our voices and our influence. And as coaches, obviously, especially as college football coaches, we have big influences. You look at the amount of money that's around college football, college basketball, professional sports. Some of these coaches are larger than life figures. When you look at the Nick Sabans of the world, the Dabo Swinney's of the world, Coach K at Duke, guys like that. They're some of the most popular individuals in the United States. And fortunately for them, they also have the privilege of working with African American men on a daily basis. And so when an issue like this arises, one that is so heavily entrenched in our DNA, as far as something that we've seen for years and years, I think now finally more than ever is the time that we all speak up, because this fight is not just going to be won with African American coaches saying that we're being treated unfairly, that our young men and women are being treated unfairly. It's going to take both sides, because right is right, wrong is wrong. And so I challenge my colleagues to be heard. Not just speak it, but also let's put plans together to do. Let's put our actions where our mouths are. A tweet, and that's why I posted something yesterday. This isn't a one tweet fix. This isn't something that just one nice tweet is going to fix. It's going to take us to roll our sleeves up, put our heads together, and really challenge this establishment if we really want true progress. And so, again, that's why I put that challenge out there. A lot of my colleagues have followed suit. A lot of guys I respect in the profession have said similar things. I respect Coach Moulton and what he was able to say on ESPN. And but it has to be said, and it looks like many of them are answering the call, and that's a good thing.
Thank you for sharing that. Before I let Charles up here and ask a follow-up question, for those that may not have seen that, I want to read at least the first couple of sentences to go in here. We'll post it on the face so people can get the entirety, because I think it's important for folks to read this at the level and the genuine components of this. Before I let Charles jump in and ask a follow-up question. As you open up and state, in the coaching profession, when our players continually make mistakes on the field, we have a saying, quote, either you are coaching it or you're allowing it to happen, end quote. This phase basically forces us to accept responsibilities for those things that are happening in front of us that we have influence over. When it comes to the issue of racism, I feel the same way. And it continues and goes deeper with that, but I'll hold on to that to allow Charles to come here and follow up with the question to Coach Simmons.
Coach Simmons, I want to ask this question in regards to recruiting African-American athletes. And let's be just very frank about it. There were coaches who 3-4 years ago, they were quite tone deaf to silent protests. Do you feel as though this is resonating with African-American athletes in terms of those coaches who were tone deaf at the time?
Well, I think it's definitely something to pay close attention to as we move forward. I don't know if we'll see the direct impact of it right now. Obviously, this is a dead period for recruiting. Signing day is not for another few months in December. So, we won't know if there are long-term ramifications of everything that's going on until then. Basketball recruiting is kind of passed us by as well. And so we don't really see a period of heavy recruiting right now. It's kind of a dead period for both major sports. So it'll be definitely something to pay close attention to as we get into football season, as we look at prospective student athletes and what schools they're starting to put into their top 10, their top 5. And I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing some young guys do what Trace Young did, when he narrowed his list down to only HBCUs and ultimately chose to play basketball at Alabama State. And so I think it's a trend that we could possibly see. And I know all of us at the HBCU level would be ecstatic about it. It's something that we've talked about for a long time. What would happen if African-American men start coming back to HBCUs, much like they did before segregation, when the FAMUs, the Gramblin's, the Tennessee States, the South Carolina States of the world were some of the best college football programs in the country. It's definitely a discussion piece. And I've had individuals in the past, even before all of this, pose that question, prospective student athletes, to say, what would that look like? And so it's definitely something that's being talked about. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this continues to develop in the coming months.
Thank you for that. Before I let you jump in here, Mike, and ask that, let me continue with another sentence so people even get more framing of the dialogue in this extensive letter that Coach Simmons wrote. If we as coaches, people of influence, stand on the sideline and say nothing about the injustices going around us, knowing that our voices and influence carry much weight, then we are basically saying that we are okay with what we are seeing. That resonated with me to the point where I actually had to ponder. I mean, I was tired myself, exhausted, I guess maybe another better word. But because of what you put out there and some other things that I had to read and think about, it made me think about recommitting and understanding also in regards to my association of how I can make sure my voice was heard. So I want to say personally thank you for resonating with me in terms of how I could be complicit of being silenced, even with where my position is in life, to understand I still have a part to do with this. Mike, with that, if you would, please follow with Coach, another question from Coach.
Yes, Coach Simmons, thank you very much. Your words resonated with me also. I heard so much passion, especially in the statement, this is not a one statement, movement. And you just said that, reverberated that a second ago. And hearing all of that passion in your voice and Coach Moden, I guess in your world, and as you look at this thing, and it invokes so much passion and emotions. What, from your perspective, would you like to see, in terms of actions, 2 or 3, weeks down the line, maybe a month, right? What tangible actions would you like to see? Because there's going to come a period where we're expressing our emotions. It impacts us all sociologically, physiologically, and from a number of perspectives. But having this bridled passion, what would you like to see as kind of next steps going out of, some of this talk and some of this expressions from not only yourself and Coach Moden, down the line? What would you like to see?
Well, one of the biggest things that I like to see is I like to see all of us as coaches really take a stand and making our guys vote. Getting them in a position where we register them to vote. I told my team Sunday night at the team meeting. We had the police chief of Tallahassee, Florida A&M, the police chief on. We had the Gaston County Sheriff on, and we had a former player who's a Tallahassee Police Department spokesman on, and I told all of them on the call, whenever that date of voting is, I don't care what day it is, unless it's Saturday or game day, we're going to go vote. We're not going to practice that day. That whole team is going to get on the bus, and we're going to go to whatever the closest voting booth is, and we're going to vote. We're going to make sure all of our guys are registered to vote, and we're going to make them exercise the right that so many people have fought for and died for to give them that. Because again, obviously, this issue or this virus that we're facing is only going to be changed through policy. It's not going to be changed through voices. Through texts or tweets or posts. It's going to be changed through actual policy, and that means us voting. That means us electing officials who are going to take a stand. Who are going to legitimately force change nationally. And obviously, we see what happens when we don't do that. I don't even have to mention the person that I'm talking about. We all know. He is showing us what happens when we don't exercise our voice on a daily basis. And so that's one of the main things that I like to see happen. If every football team in the country, every basketball team is out there voting, and we're standing on the front line encouraging others at the university, because I truly believe that student athletes are the leaders on our respective campuses. If we're leading the charge to go vote, think about it, FAMU, if 10,000 students are voting on voting day. So that's one of the main things I like to see moving forward.
Thank you for that question, Mike, and thank you even more so for that response.
Absolutely. Thank you, Coach.
Which is appropriate way to close it, as you went through some other components of the letter to close out. The last part that you said here really resonates with what you said in a lot of ways. Now is not a time, quote, to make America great again, end quote, because people of color and other minorities, such as those as a whole, it has never been great. Now is the time to make America great for everyone. Please stand with me, coaching peers, and let your voice be heard. Hashtag leave no doubt. I think that was appropriate way to close out that letter that you did. And again, we'll post it so people can see this and understand the magnitude of being involved and doing the things such as exercising your right to vote and finding others that you can help exercise that right to vote. So I certainly appreciate you sharing that in so many ways. As we come to close, any final thoughts that you wanted to leave us with before we close out this segment?
One of the main thing, and you alluded to it earlier, Doc, a lot of us are fatigued, and that fatigue causes some of us to just sit back and say, you know what, I've dealt with this for so long, and you have to just catch your breath. And I know a lot of guys, even took a second before they said something, because it took a while for us to get our thoughts together. I've wrestled with myself since all of this happened to put the right words together, because initially the first words were going to be angry. They were going to be angry words, and it was almost to the point of calling people out, specifically naming guys. Hey, where are you? I hadn't heard from you. And so I had to fight. I had to pull back on that, because again, that was emotion. And I think that's what happens in these situations. A lot of the things that are happening now with the rioting, the looting, some of those things, we're acting with emotion, and that's a human reaction. So, for all of those that are critical of some of the things that we're doing, you have to understand that, when our backs are against the wall, we're suffering so much oppression. You put on top of that, COVID with the quarantine and all the things that we're having to experience, being without jobs, our community is being hit harder by the virus than other communities. We're tired, we're fatigued, we're upset, we're angry. All of the emotions that we can experience, we're experiencing them. So, I really just had to take a second, pray really hard to get my thoughts together, and try to put a message across that touch people on a personal level, but also challenge them the right way. Because again, I think this is going to be something that it takes all of us to fix. This can't be a situation where blacks are out on the forefront and whites are sitting on the sideline. It's not going to work that way. The whites got to get out, blacks got to get out, other minorities have to get out. We all have to do this, because this isn't a black and white issue, no pun intended. This is a right and wrong issue. Civil rights and things of that nature are a right and wrong issue. We're the Constitution says that we're afforded the same rights and opportunities as everyone else. And so I really just want to see everyone, and I cater the message more so to coaches, but this is anyone of influence. This is anyone that's listening to this call that feels like they have a platform to make a difference. And even if you don't feel like that, there's something you can do. And if it's just getting censored and going out to vote, and not just the presidential election, the local elections, because again, all of these issues will affect us in some form or fashion. So again, my passion stems from the fact that I see a lot of these young men that are frustrated. We had a long, great conversation Sunday night, team meeting, and those guys were able to get some of those things off their chest. They were able to ask law enforcement some very, very tough questions that those individuals were forced to answer. But I think it did wonders for our program. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take those tough conversations between whites, blacks, law enforcement, non-law enforcement personnel to really figure out what best way to really, like I said, make this country great for everyone. Again, I was always offended by Make America Great Again, because for people that look like me, when has it been great? I don't remember a time when it's been great for us as a whole. I can look at the Oprah Winfrey's and the Jay-Z's and the Beyoncé's of the world, or Michael Jordan. It might be great for them. But for the vast majority of the people that I grew up with in Quincy, Florida, the only predominantly county in the state of Florida that's majority African American, it ain't great for us, and it hadn't been. So I want to make this country great for everyone, and hopefully the things that are going on now won't go in vain. George Floyd's death will not be in vain. Ahmaud Arbery's death will not be in vain. Breonna Taylor, Tamir Rice, Trayvon Martin, those individuals' deaths will not be in vain. That we can make a systemic change, systematic change that will allow us as African Americans and other minorities a chance to realize the American dream. And that's something that I'm very passionate about. So I really appreciate you, Doc, for giving me the platform, for having this opportunity, for doing what you do. And, I know you're in this fight with us. Same thing, Mike, same thing, Charles. I really appreciate you guys. God bless you all. Y'all stay safe. And I just look forward to seeing, where we go from here.
God bless you. Thank you for, one, taking a charge and putting it out there, and two, coming on here and providing additional voice and additional context, and providing even more thoughts in terms of not only what you said, but where we can go, providing solutions, providing recommendations, which is important because a lot of people have those questions. Not only did they have the thoughts, but you also provided additional context there. So I wanted to say thank you for stepping up. And you're right. You got a brother in the fight with you. You know that every day. We're gonna raise up the shield. Now, while you have the rattler on your chest, and I know this is close to the heart, so that's appropriate. Some of us, look at the Southwestern Athletic Conference in the SWAC, particularly the Panthers and the Tigers over here on this side. And then we got a little tiger blue in the middle. But I noticed that you didn't show your right sleeve there. And so I wasn't sure if the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference was on the sleeve. So now you don't have to, because I don't want you to get in trouble.
We're talking about social justice.
Ashley Rouse, I don't put you on the spot. That's not appropriate. We know how this goes. It needs to be official and go through the channels. But if whatever happens tomorrow, if it takes place Wednesday, or even if it's Thursday, I know it's a 2-day meeting, but I think they're supposed to convene tomorrow on the board. I think that's official, so we at least know that part of it. But at the appropriate time, we would ask that you would give us an opportunity to talk about it one way or the other. What does it mean for you from that perspective? And if you would take the charge, and some of your colleagues, some of your coaches, basketball, men's, women, baseball, they don't necessarily get a chance to voice their thoughts on it. If they're willing to come on and share and have a platform to talk about it, let them know that we can create a platform to maybe bring a couple of you on to talk about how things are changing in terms of what may take place tomorrow. So if that is appropriate and you think that's a thing that we can do to help with that, please know that you have that voice over here, and we look forward to that opportunity if that's fair.
That definitely is fair. And it's a social injustice conversation, so we're going to leave it on those issues. We're going to leave that distance. I'm gonna socially distance myself from you guys, just so.
Good job.
Hey, The coach did get a degree in marketing now, so y'all always get the brothers sharp. You know, he didn't just stay by with that degree. You know, honor roll and all of dean list type stuff. You know, president's scholars. You know, he just wasn't no college athlete with an athletic scholarship. You know, you could have had it multiple ways. You know, and I won't get in trouble talking about your finances and how you might have extra money in terms of. Knowing the NCAA, they never get too far out, so I don't want to get in trouble. Y'all think y'all gonna win some championships?
I'll tell you this: I graduated from Clemson with a marketing degree in 3 years, but I got a PhD.
I wasn't gonna put it out there. I know you're gonna let folks know.
But I got a PhD in deflection, so I'm gonna keep deflecting.
That's Riley will love
it. Right, Coach. Now, last thing, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
I don't know many military military options actually deflect that much.
Hey, he's straight DB on that.
Pass breakups.
Like this. How about I just call you off the record? I call you later and talk about this. That way, we do the distance over the phone. We fine. But all seriousness, we kid you because we care. We appreciate you, and thanks for all you do in terms of leadership of men, and just being a genuine good brother to us, and giving us a chance to see inside the program previously at Purdue A&M University, and now at Florida A&M University. So thank you for your time, and as you said, back on a serious note, we'll be here to support you, and I think you raising this is more than what was necessary and even more commendable in time. So thanks for tremendous.
No doubt. Tremendous words with impact. Definitely.
No doubt.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. And again, like you said, I'm always a phone call away, Doc. You know how to reach me. And after tomorrow, we can circle back in that conversation. But in the meantime, I'm gonna give you the Dikembe Mutombo and just wave my face.
Man, something right with these people.
That's cool,
right? Wow. All right, Coach. We'll talk to you later.
I appreciate it.
We're going to get into it a little bit as we start to close up, so we don't want you to get in trouble. So we want you to hear about this as we talk about what we heard.
Indeed. Hey, will you? All right, guys.
All right, Coach.
Charles, looked like we lost Doc. You may want to take over.
Yeah.
Oh, sure thing.
Yeah, Charles.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that was a great job that time by Coach Simmons to do the old Mutombo, Mike. That was pretty smart, but obviously that was the big news of the day, and we'll have another. We'll catch back up with Coach Simmons at a later time when they formally make a decision. But that's a huge conversation piece in terms of the potential of Florida A&M looking at the SWAC. Of course, is brought to us by HBCU Game Day. Sidney Gaker, fine work those guys do at HBCU Game Day. But one of the questions that I continuously keep getting is if FAMU came to the SWAC, they would be the 11th team. So is there a plan to bring someone else into the conference? My good friend Frederick, he mentioned, is there another team on the grassy knoll?
Another suitor out there.
Exactly. Is there another suitor out there? So interesting question.
So and this subject is so much about FAMU, but so much not about FAMU and its implications. And it goes to your question. They're going to leave a void. First you got, Hampton leaving, then you got North Carolina A&T leaving. Now, if they leave, keep in mind that FAMU has 3 times the branding presence on ESPN than any other MEAC school. That's going to leave a huge void, but still, you have to bring another team over. So all of this, again, is kind of just open discussion until a decision has been made. But there's going to be so much discussion on what comes next. Do you bring Do you bring Bethune? Do you bring Tennessee State? Do you bring someone else? I mean, who does it make sense for? I mean, the conversation is limitless. So I'm very excited, but very intrigued at the same time. And at the same, you're creating a power HBCU conference potentially.
With this, no doubt. Certainly with that. Wanted to jump that in there because I see y'all getting excited. Y'all carried away. One of the things I wanted to announce before we get in there, we got inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Rob Calloway of the HBCU Report out of Atlanta, and we're doing something different. He has a platform, a great show that I've had a chance to come on, certainly listen to or following. He's coming on next, so y'all continue to tune in. And so we're going to bring him in as we kind of talk about what he thought about the show today, and then what he's going to be on his show today in regards to that, and give him some chance maybe to talk a little bit of what y'all talking about, all this information out here with the meeting tomorrow with the Board of Trustees at Florida A&M University, better known by all of us in terms of FAMU, in terms of them making a vote to leave the MEAC tomorrow. And so they get to vote it up and down. And obviously, what is coming out is that the plans are not just to leave the MEAC, but to come over to the SWAC. So as I check it over there to you, Rob, what are your thoughts in terms of all this news of the day? What did you think about our topics on the show today, and where are you going today with your show?
Well, big shouts out to y'all. Y'all had Willie Simmons on today, man. That was huge. Right before the announcement, like, this is huge. I'm like, hey, who else? Dr. Cavil, whatever, man. We know you worked your magic for that. We know you worked your magic, but I think that's what everybody's talking about right now, man. Is the fact that FAMU, with all intents and purposes, like, they already out to me. Let's just go ahead and be honest, man. Based on everything, based on everything that Stephen Gaither and the crew over at HBCU Game Day, they doing a phenomenal job staying on top of this. But based on everything that they have, FAMU is out of there. I mean, from the travel expenses, from the mileage, all of that. It ain't no sense. Why is FAMU even in the MEAC? Based on the sheer numbers, it only makes sense. I mean, it's unbelievable, that we've reached this point where we're talking about FAM, who is the outside of Grambling, Florida A&M is the most historic HBCU, like to the masses. Now, when we talk about wins, we know Tuskegee is the winners program, right?
Come on, man. Come on, man. You said top 2 or 3. What those?
So I'm just saying, so when people hear that FAM is coming to the MEAC, everybody's like, well, what's going to happen with the MEAC? Well, that's a good damn question. What's going to happen with the MEAC?
That's why I say y'all got to tune in to Rob Calloway with the HBCU report. When you talk about that, he brings it like no one else. We got our show. We have this intellectual talk. Mike has a way with the data. Charles is smooth, you know what I'm saying? He got that Mississippi flair, that Jackson State, Then Rob just come in here with Alabama State out of Atlanta and just like kicking over trucks, throwing rocks. Like, hey, man, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, look, the guy that is stupid. When I talked to Willie on the show, I had Willie on the show 2 weeks ago. When I brought that up, Willie sidestepped that thing so smooth. He sidestepped that thing so smooth. I was like, damn, I guess they gonna be in the MEAC.
Well, you got a question for Rob?
I think we had a lot of people electric sliding around that subject. So we had A.D. Courtney Gaucher on a couple weeks ago, and it was the same electric slide. So they
they got it. It's a coordinated dance. It's a coordinated effort.
No doubt.
Yeah, they pretty smooth. He's like, what's going on here? So, Mike, what you have for Rob down there? What are your thoughts in terms of what's going on his show, and or any questions you got in terms of how he delivers HBCU reports?
Yeah, Rob, is this transformation potentially, and I say it in all quotes because we know that there's a high likelihood it may happen. And you look at the platform now. This changes how we a large part to how we cover HBCUs, because now you have a mega conference potentially with this move. What do you see transitioning for some of the HBCU radio platforms? How we address it? Look into your crystal ball, because you've been doing this for a while, and say how can this impact other realms outside of just the sport for supporting HBCU athletics?
Well, I'm gonna just be very honest. FAM coming to the SWAC is just making it so easy for me. Now I don't even have to worry about anybody else, because it's SWAC bias. I got a SWAC bias on my show, man. I tell people all the time, "Oh, this SWAC bias." I come talk about MEAC, CIAA, SIAC, kick rocks. But the God honest truth is like this right here, man. The SWAC, because we all SWAC guys right here. You know what I'm saying? So it's like. If the MEAC was really in the conversation, it'd be a MEAC guy on the screen right here. But it's just like we love what we do. We love the SWAC. You know what I'm saying? FAM don't love the MEAC. FAM loves FAM. You know what I'm saying? See, that's what we got to remember, that FAM loves FAM. They left the MEAC before. We got to remember this. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't have a love affair with the MEAC. And so it's one of those things. FAM coming to the SWAC, it just shores it up. But my biggest concern, and I'm going to talk about it on the show tonight, is what happens if FAM leaves. Like, what dominoes will fall, and how is this going to affect the Celebration Bowl? Because we know that the MEAC is tied into this Celebration Bowl thing, and FAM, they the national champs. So what you going to do without the national champs?
Yeah.
That's a good point. And so our producer on here that puts this together for the Zoom side of this is Roy Evans. And he's over at the FAMU, and you notice he didn't even jump in here talking about that. So he like, what I'm saying? Hey, I'm SWAC too. Like you said, that's FAMU about FAMU. It's like, I was just trying to be polite and not interrupt your show. We've been doing what we do for a long time, so they like, hey, let's go.
That's it.
I got a question, Doc. Is it me, or did everyone who went to FAM have a workshop on deflection, obviously?
Clearly.
They clearly went to the same workshop.
Tremendous.
So we had Gaucher, we had Willie Simmons, all had the same deflection method. They didn't only deflect, they had the same method.
Well, I don't know if they learned it at the School of Agriculture or if they learned it at the School of Mechanics. I don't know what they
So, Rob, I do have a question that I want to pose out there. If, of course, Florida A&M comes to the SWAC, they will be the 11th team in the SWAC. The potential of a 12th team now joining the SWAC and the conversation around that. I've heard some people on social media refer to that other team as who might be the other team on the grassy knoll, if you will. So, any thoughts in terms of that?
Look, because my good friend who branded me the Petey Green of HBCU Sports Talk, Reginald Ruffin, Miles College own the SIAC right now. They don't have anything else to prove, basketball or football, in the SIAC. So if you want to take somebody that's right there in the footprint in Birmingham, it would be Miles College. Now, Albany State, me and Doc been talking about this, Albany State, because they're right there too. But Miles College, it's Miles, in my opinion. If Miles wanted to join the SWAC, I don't see Cleveland be like, nah, y'all can't come, because they check all the boxes. And when you start talking about travel, their travel wouldn't be any further than what A&M or Alabama State, what their travel expenses are right now. So it's Miles for me.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Now that's interesting.
Calloway, host of the
hold up.
Right now, you're inside the HBCU Sports Lab with my guy.
There you go.
Hail the dean of HBCU Sports.
I got a question.
Cavil, my guy. What's happening, man?
So Mike, I got him on here now.
I got a question.
We need one too.
I'm working on one for y'all.
Rob,
yeah.
What is it? My Dean. We couldn't get my Dean and his dudes or something.
Well, no, I got something for y'all. I'm working on something. I'm working on something for y'all right now. I got you.
He play that nonstop, and I'm gonna throw up every time. I couldn't get a dude or something or an assistant or a Batman?
No, I'm gonna tell you. Dr. Cavil hit me up. He hit me up at the MEAC Swag Challenge. It was like, yeah, make this for me. So
like that. Rob, well, we know you finna go off and you finna go on the street. To let everybody know to catch you before we tune off, to make sure we give you a chance to get going, and we're gonna tune right in and listen to you.
absolutely. Make sure that they follow the show on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at HBCU Report. And we are live on Spreaker. So if you go to Spreaker.com and just type in HBCU Report, we'll pop up. And of course, the show is available on demand 24/7 on all the great platforms. Spreaker, iHeartRadio, the TuneIn Radio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, the HBCU Report is there. We everywhere. So
I love it. That's
it, man.
That's Rob.
I appreciate y'all.
Calloway from the HBCU Report. Check it out. Coming on next as we get it. This is Dr. Kenyatta Cavil with Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Coming up next is Rob Calloway. As we say, I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, a.k.a. the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports. Recently given to me by Rob Calloway of the HBCU Sports. Just wanted you to know, again, we want to thank you for listening to us, Dr. Cavil, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, as we had VP and Director of Athletics, Ashley Robinson, and the head football coach of Florida A&M, Willie Simmons. Hope you enjoyed that talk. Right here on KCUH 1230 AM, 6 to 7. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Dream big and continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Course, let's
Yes.
Made with onions, peppers, ground mustard.
So I've never heard of this. Oh, Doc, they done broke out on me.
Yep. No, we
Never heard of this guy before.
What'd you think?
No, the show was great.
Cool. Yeah, so that's what we talking about trying to do is build a block. And really tag team and hold the idea from the MSNBC. As you talking about building the block,